It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Thursday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. As always, we're coming to you from the Hackensack Meridian Health Podcast Studio. Keep getting better. I'm Paul Dottino, sitting in momentarily for John Schmeelk. He's got a little errand he's got to take care of. Former Giants linebacker Jonathan Casillas, two-time Super Bowl champ, is with me this afternoon as we can take your calls at 201-939-4513 for the next hour and talk New York Giants football. Jonathan, the Giants were very vocal yesterday on Wednesday as they began preparations for Dallas about the 24-hour rule, which we are all too familiar with. We've all known about this thing forever. But it did seem to me like the attitude of the players and the coaches in the locker room was that they really had flushed game number one, which of course is mandatory because you have another divisional game on the road on Sunday. And if you don't flush it, you've got yourself a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially the way the Giants lost, the Commanders team basically did what they want at will. The thing is, though, is in those 24 hours, you make sure you feel it.
Yeah.
You make sure you feel it. You don't want to feel that again. Go over the plays, and then, the next day, as the team collectively watches it, makes corrections. After that, it may be a little longer than 24. Maybe it's 30 hours. Whenever you finish the corrections and you move on to this week's opponent, which is Dallas, then it's gone. And you don't sit in it no more. You don't think about plays you could have made, should have made. Of course, you make those mental corrections, but that's gone. You don't let that carry over and let that game beat you twice. Just like if you win big, you can't win the next game off of the previous game.
And that was Russell Wilson's point in particular.
Right. So definitely get it out your system. As soon as they're done watching it and they make their corrections and then they move on. That's how the NFL works, and you got to have that short-term type of memory.
All right. I want to ask you about two particular players in the Washington game and how what you saw will make you feel better about them going forward, maybe as soon as this game in Dallas. Number one, Brian Burns, who, since he has stepped on campus here as a New York Giant, has done nothing but impress me. And I know he had 2 sacks, and that looks nice in the stat sheet, but I thought he actually played a really strong game the other day. And I get the sense from him, he's really primed to have a career year.
Absolutely. Coming from Carolina, I don't know how much he was getting the double teams, but when I watched the film, Dexter Lawrence got doubled every play. I don't know how much the percentages was, but every time I saw it, he was getting 4 hands on him. So guys like Burns and Thibodeau and Carter and everybody on the outside, it frees those guys up to have one-on-ones. Nobody's free. Like when I say free, nobody's, unblocked unless you're Abdul Carter on the one botch play right before half, which is crazy. But Burns took advantage of all of those one-on-ones, and he won almost every time he was one-on-one.
He really did.
He had a fantastic game. He was one of the bright spots, if not the only bright spot to take away from that first Commander.
Clearly
game.
the best player the Giants had on the field.
Absolutely. And I would say, look, and I've just talked to Usama Young about this player engagement, former Super Bowl champion me in New Orleans. He's here with the Giants. So we just had a conversation, and I said, Dexter was doubled almost every play, right? I said, but we know that. He knows that. And I am putting a lot on Dexter. Dexter needs the windows every now and again. It can't just be a stalemate because he's that good. To not even get pushed off the ball, now you got to win those. I am putting a lot on him. I am.
And he did not play during the preseason as they ramped him back up after the elbow issue that he had midway through last season. What scares me about that Dexter Lawrence thing, Jonathan, is that I had read one of the Mayo Clinic dissertations on elbow injuries, which, of course, Dexter is coming back from. And they said it could take as many as 12 months to really get your full strength back and your motion back to be exactly what you're supposed to be. So let's finish off on that point.
But he still demands the double team, elbow, one arm, like no matter what it is. He's still demanding a double team. And look, he's stalemating with 2 guys that are combined 700 pounds.
Except the Giants need more than a stalemate.
Yes.
They need Dexter
because
to
he's capable.
be Dexter.
Yes.
He needs to dominate.
Yep. Even
Otherwise,
if he's get double team.
they can't get to where they need to go.
Yep.
So
I
let me
agree.
get John back in here. He's done with his errand.
What up,
Folks,
Schmeelky, baby?
we'll see you again tomorrow.
Oh, Paul, be ready. I might need you in 20 more minutes. So just be ready.
Really?
Yeah, I might. We'll see.
Let me know.
Yeah, so someone's out there trying to fix my car windshield, so I should know in about 20 or 30 minutes if that was possible, and I will have to run back out, and either I'll get Paul back in, or JC can just take your calls on his own, and I'll roll the dice, and I'll see how that goes. I got if you talk to Wilson for 20 minutes, it'll be great. So we do not have word, I do not believe yet, on Andrew Thomas's practice status today. The plan was from the practice today after not practicing yesterday. JC, James Hunt said, I thought he was fine. I thought the interior line was a bigger problem last week against the Commanders. What was your overall take, generally speaking, off of that game? I don't spend too much time on it, but just give me your general take before we head into Dallas.
Generally, both teams, bad football. Week 1 football. You saw it kind of from around the league. Commanders, 12 penalties, a whole bunch of drops. If the Commanders played more efficient ball, they would have scored more points. The Giants didn't turn the ball over, and they still had 6 points. Like that. These are things that I'm seeing, and it's inadequacies all along offensive line. It's not just like you said, the replacement of Andrew Thomas. The interior got beat up pretty well. Commanders run great stunts. I mean, their stunts were like 2-man stunts, 3-man stunts, and it'll be hard for any offensive line to deal with those type of guys. I think you got to give them a little bit of credit because I think the Commanders, they did represent the NFC. Excuse me, they did play in the NFC Championship game last year. I think they're a pretty solid team. But the Giants' offensive line, it looked like the communication wasn't on the thing. Russell Wilson was getting a lot of slack, but he didn't play as bad as I think he could have played. He didn't turn the ball over. I think I saw some errant throws, but every quarterback play week 1, they had errant throws. Every quarterback around the league.
Wilson, look, I agree with you. I don't think you would classify him playing really well or anything like that. But he kept the team afloat. Like he did not sink the team in the face of a bad situation around him.
Giants had drops. The Giants they didn't convert. They got themselves behind the sticks a lot. I think they became a little predictable at times, but when it's almost like a cascade of defenders in the backfield consistently, you're trying to figure out what's going on.
Run game too, by the way, not just the pass game.
And defensively, I saw a lot of guys out of gaps. I think it was a lot of the younger DBs, Shane Bowen, second year in the defense, but a lot of new pieces. Hollins new, Adebo's new, Newman's taking on more of a the starter, and then also Andrew Phillips. Those are guys I saw that was out of position. They didn't really get bullied, but they were out of position. That's why you saw so many big runs. All
right, I want to hit a couple of what I think are the key matchups here against Dallas. Paul and Matt will do their full preview tomorrow, and then we will take your calls at 201-939-4513. All right, JC. First thing for me, do you want to go Giants offense first or Giants defense first?
Either one.
All right, well, let's go Giants defense first because I think that's the bigger challenge in this game in terms of what Dallas is bringing to the table in terms of playmakers. How do you cover CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, right? It's very easy last year to say we're going to throw 2 guys at CeeDee Lamb and let somebody else beat you. Well, now you don't want George Pickens isolated one-on-one, especially against a Cordell Flott who's not the biggest guy, and Pickens can play bully ball down the field. That can kill you. Okay, well then do you put a Debo on Pickens one-on-one and then double Lamb with Flott and somebody else? Maybe you can do that, but then you got Ferguson running the seam down the middle of the field. I thought Dak was great in week 1 against Philly. He did not get any help from his teammates dropping passes like CeeDee Lamb. I would expect CeeDee Lamb to play a much better game this week. So that to me is question number 1 for this Giants defense. How do they handle those 2 Cowboys wide receivers who are both really number 1s from a talent perspective?
On paper, simple fix, cover 2. On paper, just say, hey, we'll cover 2. We have 2 corners rolled up with 2 safeties over top. Okay, cool. Now you got a 7-man front versus the run. Sometimes 6-man front, depending on how you're doing your middle linebacker, he might be a little higher.
Right, sure.
So if the Giants can run cover 2 with the 4-man front and stop the run, they would have some success. Because let's be real about this. CeeDee Lamb has done very well against the Giants, let alone the league. Right, he's done very well against the Giants. Pickens I think he's a very good receiver. Whenever he's going, he's top 5 guy. He can make all the catches, deep threat down the field. But my thing is about the Cowboys' philosophy, and I don't know if it was because Jalen Carter was out, but they ran the ball right down the Eagles' throat.
And well, by the way.
Yes, very well, especially early in the game before the lightning stoppage.
I agree.
They were moving the ball at will, and then towards the end of the game, they put themselves in situation to win the game multiple times. The only thing that stopped them was the drops.
And by the way, a lot of gap scheme power stuff. They were pulling guys. They had double lead blockers on a couple of plays. It was a lot. With McCarthy, it was a ton of zone stuff, zone blocking stuff. I thought it was a much more varied run scheme
Yeah.
this week with
And
Schottenheimer.
and a physical approach.
I agree.
You know, and look, I think the Giants' defensive line can do certain things against that. But what I saw from the Commanders game last week, it wasn't really the defensive line. It was more of the guys on the outside, right? A lot of these run plays that they wind back or they hit outside, they're designed to go out there. They're designed to get the linebackers up. They're designed to get somebody up, and they're one-on-one with the defensive back, right? And I said this before on BBK. I've said this before on pregame, postgame. It can't just be one guy. I'm sorry, Paulson Adebo. I don't expect you to make a tackle against these running backs in the league.
Yeah, Javonte Williams is a big fella.
Yeah. And it's the thought process behind, I think, what they're trying to do with the Cowboys. I think they're trying to run the ball and establish that physical presence up front. So then you gotta stop, put guys in the box to stop them, and then, of course, go to the outside with those talented receivers.
Yeah, no question. I agree with you. And then the Cowboy offensive line, you mentioned very physical in the run game. I do think if you can get them into third and longs, I think you should be able to attack them a little bit with quickness and speed in terms of a pass rush. Tyler Guyton's still a young left tackle. Terrence Steele is fine. He's not a world beater at right tackle. Booker's a rookie. So I think you can get after them with a speed, movement-based pass rush, but you got to get there.
Yeah, you got to get there. Yeah, I
Get a
think
lead maybe on offense would help too.
The defensive front has to help the secondary. And I'm not taking anything away from Holland or Adebo, but they are new guys in the system, right?
Yep.
They are new guys added to the system. It does take a while for you to understand all the ins and outs and nuances of a defense. The D-line can help them out with that. Getting to the quarterback, having, Dak getting off his spot, having rush his passes, or also, and this kind of goes against what I'm trying to say, but making him hold the ball a little bit longer. On those 4 pass rush situations, like let's say if they're running cover 2, there's only 4 guys coming after you. Sometimes quarterbacks think they have a false sense of security and they think they have time. But if you can win those one-on-one battles like we talked about earlier, because Dexter Lawrence is going to demand a double team, Burns, Thibodeau, Carter, the guys on the outside, they have to be able to get to the spot a lot earlier than letting Dak just sit back there for 3-4 seconds, because Dak's a good quarterback.
Yep.
There's no question. I play for the Giants. I hate the Cowboys, right? I hate the Eagles, but I got to give respect, right? I played against Dak as a rookie. He was good as a rookie.
That was the last time the Giants beat Dak Prescott, by the way, in 2016.
And he is a solid quarterback. When he's healthy, and the Cowboys always have a pretty good offensive line, like throughout history, and they have a solid run game, even though that's kind of got away from them. Mm-hmm. When they put it in Dak's hands the last 5 or 6 years, Dak has delivered. So let's not question that. Dak is a pretty good quarterback, and if you allow him to sit back there, he will pick the Giants apart.
I agree. All right, that's the offensive side of the ball. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Matt Eberflus is the new defensive coordinator. He was with Dallas. Then he became a head coach of the Bears, obviously. He was the DC with the Colts in between those 2 spots. And there was an interesting stat I found. He played some type of zone defense against the Eagles on every single snap last week.
Yeah.
He did not throw out man-to-man defense once. Now, I understand why. Jalen Hurts, running quarterback, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown outside. Yeah. So I get why. Now, Deron Bland, who you could argue as Trayvon Diggs slowly makes his way back from a second knee injury, and he only played 26 snaps last week. I expect him to play a lot more this week. Deron Bland might be their best corner. Well, he's in a walking boot. He's probably not going to play this week. And they're going to roll out their second-string slot corner. I think his last name is Stewart. I had never heard of him before. I don't know who he is. You know how much work I do in the draft? I'm pretty familiar with most of the players in the league.
That's true.
I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
I have not watched him. I don't know anything about him. I need to work on him the next couple of days to be ready for the pregame show. You should be able to attack this Cowboy secondary if, again, you can protect up front. That is a weakness. The Cowboys do not have an elite pass rusher. Then again, neither did the Commanders last week. They still had trouble with those guys. So this defense, to me, much more fundamentally sound than what we've seen before. I thought they were in their gaps and their front was pretty steady against Saquon Barkley and the Eagles. I thought they were pretty solid there, but man, their secondary's banged up. I think you can get after it a little bit. Again, as long as you can win up front against these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the first takeaways I took from the game last week that the Giants played was up front on both sides of the football. Them being able to establish the line of scrimmage when they had the ball on the Commanders. And I think that's the same approach that the Eagles are going to do. But when you talk about the Giants are known for a great defense and being able to run the football, right? The Giants had to figure out how to get back to that, because that's on some real stuff. When you're trying to figure out, is our O-line going to be able to protect the quarterback? Can we get the ball down the field? It usually helps when you can run the football when you want to run the football.
And look, Russell Wilson wasn't brought here to throw it 45 times a game and to carry the offense.
He's never been like that either.
Even when he was at his best in Seattle.
He
correct.
never was like that.
Yes.
And I do think that he did good with his legs last week and creating some extra time, getting some first downs down the field, converting some I think inopportune positions when the Giants got behind the sticks. But they need to be more rhythmic. They need to start with some big plays. They need to run their first 15. They need to get big plays early to get this thing going. You can't have the Cowboys sitting, let's say they are sitting in some type of zone situation. They can still put a lot of guys in the box and do something against the run.
You could play cover 3 and have an 8-man box. You
That's
can do
what I'm
that.
saying. You can do things, even though they're playing zone, you can do things to stop the run. Make them do that. Make them put that extra guy in the box to stop the run.
Yeah, so
and
you can't
allow the things on the outside to happen.
So you can't put 2 guys on Neighbors, right?
Right,
It makes it a lot
exactly.
easier to put a guy over the top on Neighbors if you have to put an extra guy up there against the run. And look, last week, JC, Tyrone Chasey, 10 rushes, 24 yards. Devin Singletary, 3 rushes, 9 yards. Cam Scatterbo, 2 rushes, -3 yards. 15 carries for 31 yards from the Giants running backs. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
Has to be better.
Has to be better. And look, you can help the running backs out by not giving them all run plays to get a touch. Check downs work, screens work, using them in different ways to get them the football. I think the backs are talented. I think Devin Singletary is one of the most underrated guys, and he's possibly RB3 here on this team. I like the way Cam Scatterbo looked on the one catch that he had. He looked violent on that one play.
Just bouncing off guys like
for a 3-yard gain.
like a pinball.
But let's get those guys the ball. I love Malik Neighbors just like everybody else does. Wandale Robinson had a great game. I like how they tried to get him the ball and feature him pretty early in this offense. I would like to see Jalen Hyatt make an appearance for the Giants because he, I think, creates some problems on the outside. But the Giants, number one thing they have to be able to protect. I think Dallas will sit back in coverage. I don't think they will blitz, especially when they watch this film, when they watch the film from last week.
Yeah, the Commanders didn't blitz a lot last week either. They just got
to.
home with 4. The Cowboys, I don't think, run traditionally with Matty Eberflus as much twist and stunts as the Commanders will with Dan Quinn. But look, you can get after the edge rushers, I think, of Dallas. No Micah Parsons out there. You have Donovan Izaraku, the rookie. You have Marshawn Nealon, the second-year player. Dante Fowler is more of a pass rusher to me, not somebody that stops the run. And then you have Sam Williams, who's a third-year player, missed all last year with a knee injury. So I think those are all the things you kind of, keep an eye on there. And you just try to figure out exactly what's going on. I think you could attack those edges, and this is odd for Dallas. Their defensive tackles right now, I think, are their best players. Kenny Clark and Osa Digizua, they're their best players up front now. So I'm almost thinking more try to get to the perimeter a little bit. Trayvon Diggs has never been somebody that wants to tackle a lot at cornerback.
Yeah.
So I would go after like off-tackle runs, pin pulls. I would get after the perimeter a little bit if I was putting this together.
I fully agree with you. People, they're talking about Kenny Clark like he's not a good player in an old Michael Parsons trade. Kenny Clark's a good player. He's been a good player since he's been in the league. And he came and he showed it last week against the Eagles on week 1 for Dallas. The Giants got to be versatile on offense, right? Number one, of course, is going to keep coming back to this. Any point I make, you got to protect the quarterback. You got to have good offensive line play. I don't want to hear the excuse that, he's not playing, Andrew Thomas. I'm sorry. It's been 3 years. Let's figure out how to win without this guy on the football field. He has a very serious injury in the Liz Frank. Who knows exactly when he'll come back? Who knows when he'll be back to himself, even if he's back? You got to be able to figure that out without him on the field. I think you have to get versatile on offense. You can't be predictable. Get the ball on the outside, and then every now and again, run that ball right down the middle, to keep everything honest. You got to be able to take shots. And that all being said, you have to be able to protect the quarterback. It all starts up front. The offensive line must play better, especially in this division.
201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Pearson, I don't have the caller sheet up. Who's first up here on the line right now? Who do we got?
We've got Jason in New Haven.
Let's go to Jason in New Haven. Jason, what's going on? Did we just lose Jason there? Oh, Jason.
Banged on us.
I just went to you, Jason. All right, Pearson, who's up next?
We got Marcus in California.
Marcus, what's up, pal? How are you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm great.
JC, thank you for all the times you've made me cheer, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate that, Marcus.
Especially that 4th and 1 against Washington on the goal line. Anyways, man, I'm so disappointed. I normally don't call during the season, but this is like getting hard. I tried to call last week thinking that we needed to make like one move, maybe at like tight end, another wide receiver or lineman like Brandon Sheriff or something, but yeah, it's just becoming unwatchable, guys. Like, what are we supposed to do? How hard is it to like offer the Eagles offensive line coach a OC job and pay him like millions more dollars than he's ever seen a year to come in and fix our O-line? Like, it's bad, man. And I think Russ is a little too short to be throwing over the field. I like him. I want everybody on our team to be superstars and succeed. And I know you can't put Jackson Dart in without Andrew Thomas, and you can't, like, it's just, what are we supposed to do, man? It's hard.
I hear you.
Hey, look, Marcus, Russ needs help. Mm-hmm. The same way we talked last year, yeah. Daniel Jones needs help. These are not quarterbacks. Yeah. By the way, when Jackson Dart finally plays, he's a rookie. Jackson Dart is going to need help. Sure. This is not Josh Allen. This is not Lamar Jackson. This is not Patrick Mahomes, where these guys can go just manufacture things on their own. It's not going to work. You need a run game. You need protection. If those things are not there, the quarterback's going to struggle. It's impacted by what's going on around him, and it's frustrating because we've seen this now for a number of years, but it's week one. Weird things happen in week one. Teams make huge jumps. And, JC, I want you to talk about this a little bit. Teams can make huge jumps from week 1 to week 2 in a season. And I would expect we're going to see something like that this week.
And Marcus, what I want to see from this team and what I think they need to show that they can respond. You know, and, of course, it's from week 1 to week 2. But I'm also talking about during the game, you know, when the defense for the other team makes a play – and then the Giants defense runs out there, they have to respond to what that defense just did. And that's what I don't think we've seen. You know, we haven't seen that really in the last couple of years, and we didn't really see that last Sunday. But the Giants have to be in that type of mindset, you know, because you're going to not play well all the time, right? You're going to make mistakes. You're going to throw interceptions. You're going to allow a sack. You're going to miss a tackle. How do you respond to that? You know, so I'm looking at this team and saying, like, all right, guys, you got another game in the division on the road against, I think, a really talented team, especially offensively in Dallas. How do you respond to this team, right? They were one catch away, late drop pass away from beating the defending champions in week 1. I think Cowboys, you can't look past them. They're a good team. Forget all that. They're in the division.
And by the way, they're desperate. They're 0-1 too.
So,
yes. Mm-hmm.
My big thing is that I don't ever feel when I'm watching Giants play division games like they don't hate the Eagles. They don't hate Dallas.
Oh, they
don't
do.
hate Washington. No, I don't think these people have been here long enough that we keep recycling players. I think Dex hates them. I think Thomas hates them. But Russ don't play them. Like, nobody – I don't see it. I don't
fair. I hear
see,
you.
like, the intensity of these are our rivals. I want to impose my will on you. It just seems like they roll over and show their bellies. And it's just my like, opinion, man. And I want my team – like, I want everybody to do good. I don't want Daboll fired. I actually like Joe Shane. Like, I like it. I like our team. I don't want Cam Scatterbo hitting everybody head first every time you see somebody, but I do. I love Cam Scatterbo. Like, I love this team. I just want to see it, man. That's all. And I'm sorry. I don't call during the season.
Marcus, you're fine.
Because I like to ride. I like to ride the emotional roller coaster, though. So.
Nah, it's all good, Marcus. Appreciate the call. Don't be a stranger.
We would like a win to be on sometimes that emotional roller coaster because it feels good that way.
Yeah, more ups.
Right.
Less
We've been on a lot of emotional roller coasters and walked out of here with
Look,
sad
I will
faces.
say this. I think it's fair to say there's so many new players here that they probably don't have a feel for what these rivalries are like yet. I think that's a fair point. But that doesn't mean you're, to quote him, you're rolling over and showing your belly.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
No,
but
that's not happening.
I do think, and we've spoke about this, I know I spoke about it last year, how Dallas beat them, and I forgot who they lost to, the Steelers, and people were the team, the defensive guys on the team were calling the team soft. They were like, oh, soft, blah blah blah, and then they kind of took it back, and then they lost to Dallas, and they weren't as mad losing to Dallas again for I don't know how many times they lost to Dallas. So I do hear the point. Like, there should be a little bit more emphasis on division games because they do matter a little bit more.
I think going into this year, the guys understand first 2 games in the division.
They're huge.
Look, you got to win one of them. And look, I looked at these first 2 games as a package, right?
Yeah.
You lose week 1, all right. If you can come back and beat Dallas in their building in week 2, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm good. I think everyone would be good
2
with
games
that.
in the division on the road and you split.
Take one of them.
Yeah, take one of them.
The problem is that you can't be 0-2 with Patrick Mahomes staring you in the face in week 3 in your own building.
Because they might be 0-2.
They could be.
Because they play the Eagles this weekend.
Uh-huh.
And they look, I don't care what you think about the Chiefs, because once you win in, people start hating that team. They're good, and they're always good.
Of course they are.
He's elite. And Andy Reid is elite.
And Chris Jones is elite. And Steve Spagnuolo is elite.
Right. But that don't mean they can beat the Eagles.
Well, no, I mean, they can play well and still lose.
They could be 0-2 coming into MetLife Stadium looking to tear us a new one.
which, given the Giants' luck over the past few years, that'll be exactly what will happen.
Oh, man. Listen, it's a lot of football left.
Yes.
The 2 takeaways I got, number 1, Brian Burns the Beast from week 1, right? Number 2,
I thought he was the best defensive player, by the way, in week 1. He was great.
It's only week 1, and you can get on a run. I've seen teams do it. I was a part of the Patriot team, even though I wasn't there in the early part of the season, where they lost the first 2 games of the season. They called Tom Brady washed.
Yep.
We won a Super Bowl that year, and they rolled on 2 more Super Bowls, and he won another one. So, like, you can turn it around. It's week 1. So I don't want to get too panicky, but there were some signs that the Giants need to fix. If not, this is going to be another season like last season where the Giants were, besides that 45-point alpha, the Giants were the lowest scoring team in the league.
All right, let's go to Jason in New Haven. He's back with us. Jason, what's up?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're good.
What up, Jason?
Good. What's up, boss? Thanks for taking my call. I'm looking forward to see how they respond this week. I had them winning last week, it just even when we're down 14-6 going into the 4th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
5 minutes.
It just never. It seemed like we were down 30 at that point. It just everything just felt off.
Well, Jason, the problem is that it was off. You just didn't feel like you could put the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And to me, what kind of sealed it for me, and then I'll move on to Dallas because, that was last week, was we had 7 attempts at the goal line in the first quarter. And to come away with 3 watching the game was just very deflating.
Of course it was.
You could blame the quarterback, the running back, the whole line, but none of it was good. So I'll just leave it last week at that.
Fine.
As far as this week, I agree with you, John. This is a big game, man. Like, we can't go down 0-2 in the division first 2 weeks of the season. Like, that to me would be, I don't want to say the end of a season because you still have 15 weeks. But, man, to go down 0-2 again in the division, which we've struggled to beat our division opponents for some reason, whether it be the roster or the coaching, to me, it'd be a hard blow. It'd be a hard pill to swallow to see that. So I hope these guys come out with fire in their hair and in their belly, and hearing Malik yesterday talk about how disgusted he was looking at the film. That's what I want to hear from the players. A disgust, that I felt, Jonathan, you had when you was with the Giants with that roster. You guys took a lot of pride. I'm not saying these guys don't have pride. I'm not in the locker room, and I would never disrespect a pro athlete because that's not my place. They made it to the league for a reason because they have talent. But that's what I want to hear from our star players. Disgust, angry, had to turn it off. That's what I want to hear. Because, Dallas is going to be one to go – they're going to want to win at home. They lost a tough one at Philly last week. So you got to expect you're going to get their 110%. So you got to come with 115% if you want to beat them. So what do you guys think of the keys? I'll take it off there, but what do you guys think of the keys? To me, our interior O-line last week was just subpar. I mean, yeah, I know Washington made some upgrades. They have some good NFL players, but just seeing our interior O-line period, just get dominated like that was just, you don't want to see that, man. Yeah, you're going to lose some reps. You're playing other NFL players, but you just as a whole, you don't want to get dominated all game long. And I just felt watching the game last week, people, they'll jump on Russ, but I mean, it was sometimes I'm watching the game, some reps, and by the time you get a second or third foot, planted to throw a pass, you have a deep tackle in his face, or you have the edge in his face. Like, you just can't win that way. And I just feel like we've been saying this over and over for the last few years. So what do you guys think of the keys? I think it's controlling the clock, keeping the ball out of Dak's hands, and like you said, John, on defense, their O-line played very well last week, in my opinion. Dallas, they have a young O-line, but they looked pretty good, in my opinion, running the ball. There's some big boys on that Dallas O-line, especially with Javonte Williams and how he runs hard. So what do you guys think of the keys? And I appreciate you guys taking my call. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Schmeelk just had to step aside real quick, but I think, look, when I look at this team coming in, I think the points that need to be made on offense, right? Number one, you got to be able to protect the quarterback. That's number one. Be able to protect the quarterback, be able to establish the run game so you don't get in a one-dimensional game, and strike early. I think they need to take some risk, meaning get the ball down the field. When you're running the football and you are forcing the defense to play into your hands to be able to stop the run, that opens up things. Of course, it's a lot easier said than done, but I think that's the recipe on offense that the Giants have to have. Number one, the offensive line has to play better and be able to establish the run and then take shots down the field. And now defensively, when I saw last week watching the game against the Commanders, I think up front, defensively, I think the Giants were pretty solid. Dexter Lawrence getting double-teamed every game. Not so much you can do. And I felt like Burns, Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, other guys on the outside, they actually played – they had a pretty good game. But I think the guys on the back end, they have to be a little bit more technically sound in terms of gap integrity, right? You saw that play that the Commanders had late in the fourth quarter. That was because somebody ran down somebody's back. The touchdown was the same type of situation. Two guys in the hole, which is not good on defense. And then let the defensive line eat. I think having great gap integrity, that'll handle the run game. And then when they get in a situation where it's second and long or third and long and they have to pass the football, the Giants got to be able to win those one-on-ones because they will be there because Dexter going to get doubled again. This is a division game, and they know better not to leave Dexter one-on-one.
Yeah, I think everybody goes into a Giants game knowing you don't want to do that.
The caller asks what was the points or what was the points of victory, the key points of victory for the Giants this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he was asking.
Okay.
So I answered. Fair. I said the offensive line, number one, being able to run the ball and taking shots early, and defensively, I said gap integrity because I saw some big runs happen last week.
Concur with all three.
And then letting the D-line eat. Yeah, that's what I said.
Hey, I wanted to actually finish up my point from earlier when we did open the show and we're playing Don Strock. You remember the Strock and Woodley were the rotating quarterbacks for the Dolphins the one year they went to the Super Bowl for Don Shula? We're playing the Don Strock right here between me and Schmeelk. So I want to go back to my original point when I would ask you about Brian Burns. And then we got lost talking about Dexter Lawrence just a little bit. I think the other player that I wanted to ask you about, and this is very specific to you being a linebacker and a special teams guru, Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Not only did he play well, I thought, on defense, citing the last two plays of the first half when he stopped a big gain from becoming more than that, and then on the ensuing play with his pass rush, forced the throwaway by Daniels, which then resulted in a 10-second runoff, which meant that the Commanders could not get any points out of that last second drive. Two huge back-to-back plays by Carter. He did have half a sack. And then let's talk about the punt block. He had a chance at 3. Yeah. He almost got 2, but then got the one in the middle. And unfortunately, it still resulted in a 31-yard punt. I wonder how much admiration you have for a kid like that who comes right into the league. And I know he was a 3rd overall pick. Right. Some of those guys may not be too anxious to play special teams. But what we just heard from Michael Gobriel, the special teams coordinator, is that Carter studied his butt off on special teams because he wants to be detailed and great at everything he does, and busted his butt to learn the punt block so that he could be impactful in the game.
That's huge. Like seeing him on special teams put a smile on my face. I'm a special teams guy. Being undrafted, he's gonna look at anybody on a punt team. That's who he's going to get. He's punt return. He's going to get. He's looking at them as food. As food. He's looking at them like, y'all better double team me because there's no way this tight end, this linebacker, this running back, backup tight end, backup safety is going to block me one-on-one. It's literally impossible.
The personal protector wants no part.
No
of him.
part to that. So he will cause havoc on punt return, just like he will cause havoc when he's out there with that defense, man. You know, me and John talked about this. Dexter was double teamed every play.
Yeah.
You know, and having Abdul Carter, Burns, and Thibodeau out there at the same time as Dexter Lawrence, I think that is in our advantage, the New York Giants' advantage every time. The thing is, it didn't happen a lot the first game.
No.
Hopefully, Shane could look at
Shane Bowen.
Shane Bowen, yeah. Shane Bowen can look at this and say, all right, we need to get these guys out there at the same time because they will create havoc when they're out there at the same time.
Well, to be fair, right, Shane Bowen and Michael Gabriel were both asked about the usage of Carter in the first game. And they were very careful to say, hey, you know what? Yes, our position coaches are taking counts of the snaps, right? And they're going to work him in and give him more and more each week. This was only game one.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, so you didn't expect him, or if you did, I'm sorry, but if you expected him to play 65 snaps plus special
That's
teams,
a lot.
you
Yeah,
were
that's a
you were
lot.
sadly mistaken.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And then also, let's say this for some guys out there saying, like, why is he playing special teams? Well, because he could change the game with one play, just like he almost did.
100%.
One play. So it's like you should probably leave him out there, but at the same time, I think just making sure as the ebb and flow of the game goes, it's not. I'm not saying you don't look at analytics, but sometimes you got to put the analytics down and then you got to have a judgment call. Should we put those guys out there? And I'm talking about all of those guys. Dexter Lawrence. When Dexter Lawrence is not in the field, like it's an issue sometimes for the Giants, especially when other teams notice that and they want to run the ball up the middle. When Dexter Lawrence in the game, they don't really run up the middle, even if they got a double team, because he still ends up making the play somehow, some way.
Right.
He affects the play. They like to run outside, attack the outside. But like I said, analytics is great, but you have to figure out the ebb and flow of the game. Sometimes put those numbers down and then go out there off of feel. And I think you have to feel that those guys need to be out there a little bit more.
Are you sure you didn't talk to Gabriel?
No.
Like I just did a half hour ago?
No.
Because he said that
the
exact same thing.
Yeah, no.
He said as far as using Carter on specials, it's strategy some, but also feel. Because he can change the course of a game with one play.
Yeah. Like you might not want to put him out there like every single punt return.
Right.
Especially
he didn't say he would commit to doing that.
You know, but
you will
put him
see
out there because there's no one that's not a left tackle in the league or not a starting lineman in the league that can block that.
He
kid.
also mentioned that guys like Myles Garrett and even Brian Burns here will occasionally play special teams.
Yeah, why not?
I'm going to let John back in here. Is your windshield done?
Yeah.
Good.
Nice.
All right. See ya.
Please tell me. Oh, they didn't take him? I was hoping he'd be off by the time I came back. I was like, the timing was perfect. I thought they were going to take Charlie and Pauline in before I came back, but they didn't. All right, Charlie, we'll get to you in a second. But Maurice in Montclair, glad you got your drink.
Thank you.
Zero awareness of
gentlemen.
the
Good
camera.
afternoon.
Let's go to Maurice in Montclair. Maurice, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just a few things, and then I want to just give some observations that I got.
Sure.
John, like at any point, can you let me know, or let us know rather, the heights of the guys in the NFC East and the height and weight of the guys in the NFC East that plays on the offensive line? I only ask because, we've been looking pathetic for like a long time, and it was just the same old thing when we watched it on Sunday. And it just seems like when I look at the Giants, it's like when I look at our offense deploy itself and then we go out there and I look at the other team's D-line or whoever they got, we just look weak, bro. And then we play weak. And then it's just disgusting after that. And so, like, teams just look bigger and more opposing and more like they look like football, like real deal, legitimate football guys. Like, and we go out there, we all look like we look alike because we got the same jerseys on, but like we don't look like a unit. We just look weak. So like and my point is like, do teams, I know they do this, I believe they do this, they go and want to find like, we want a big O-line. Like we want to get guys that's like that's tall and this and that and the third. But like, just give me like just like some of the heights and weights of maybe one or two teams in the NFC East, and perhaps like our guys. And then a few observations I got.
Sure.
Like, I know all of these kids play college football. We play in Dallas this week. I don't know. I'm not in the building, obviously. I don't know what's being preached, but like, can we get these kids going or these young men going in terms of like in a meeting, like, guys, this team has beat us X amount of times out of these many years, and really get that gear going. Like, yo, so when we hit the field, I coach flag kids, and it's like you got to talk to these kids and be like, yo, and get them going. It's just like we've lost so much of our identity and so much of our flavor. It's like ridiculous. Like, so like Jonathan Casillas, if you could, speak on that. Like, do coaches emphasize the importance of these matches? Like, be real with these guys. These are grown men. Like, yo, fellas, we look like trash. This is what they saying about us. If we don't got no pride in what we doing and we just want to look like clowns all the time, it's disgusting. Nobody want to keep watching this stuff, bruh. Like, they're killing Giant fans. They're not producing no younger fans because nobody wants to root for and who can buy into a team that just sucks. Like, we got a ton of new fans because of certain players like Odell and Barkley, but, like, I just feel bad for the younger generation. And another observation real quick, and I'm going to wrap up. Muasau, man, feel bad about whatever matchup he has to contain or his responsibilities. I'm not dissing him or throwing shots at him, but as soon as he got in the game, it seems as though, like, they went right at him. And this is my last one. This isn't gonna prevent injuries, but I think this goes a long way. I would love to see when we down in, down out, whether we're on offense or defense, when one of our players hit the ground, like, yo, help your guys up. I do not like seeing guys getting up by themselves while other people is up. They help each other up occasionally when it's like convenient. But if I was the coach, man, I'm not saying it's going to prevent injuries, but it helps. I know it does. I played ball. Like, yo, get your man up. Like, I don't care. Like, nobody on the floor. Help your guys up. And Brian Dable, if you're listening somewhere, bro, be real. Don't be friends with these guys. Stress the importance of this week and the fact that we look like trash, and get these guys' mindset in the right direction. And please, let's go out there and not look pathetic. And at least fight. If I see these offensive linemen fighting and holding, then I'm cool with that. But y'all, they just go out there and just look bad. So thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the time to just air some of my grievances. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Maurice. That was a heck of an air of your grievances right there. That was a long list.
But we're here for them. We're here for the Giants fans to air your grievances out.
So generally speaking, I would say Jermaine Illuminor is a huge human being. He's like 340. He is big, and Andrew Thomas is big. The interior of the Giants' offensive line, I would probably quantify as slightly undersized. And again, I'm just going by listed height and weight here. Yeah. Runyon is 6'4", 307. Schmitz is 6'4", 320. That's actually on the bigger side for a center. And then Van Roten is 6'4", 295. Again, that's according to the listed weights. Like, if you look at Dallas's offensive linemen, they're all 320 plus.
Yeah, I'm looking at them.
The Eagles are mostly 320 plus. Yeah. So, yes, compared to some of the other groups, the Giants' interior offensive line is a little bit on the smaller side.
Yeah, but Travis Kelce, he was, 280 maybe?
I mean,
if that.
And Cam Jurgens on the Eagles, he's their center. He's 304.
And they were really good players.
Yeah, correct.
They were really good players.
Correct.
But I think the reason why, well, number one, when you lose, everything becomes under a microscope, right? You look at everything under a microscope. But also the way the Giants have been losing, especially in the division, they get ran on. A lot of rushing yards gets put on the Giants, and then the Giants can't run the ball. So number one, when you're looking, it's when you lose by explosive plays, you're not really called soft. You're not really called, not physical. But when you lose in the rushing game, you get looked as a non-physical team, and it is how you lose when you lose games, right? You don't get, is it close victory or a close loss? Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if a team establishes the run on you and you can't run the ball on them. That's a different look than somebody scoring 41 points and they got, 7 passes over 50 yards. It's a huge difference in look. So I do understand why he sees it that way. And you look at the Giants as like, wow, our offensive line is just not big enough. They're big enough, yes. They have to do a better job. Schematically wise too.
They have to execute better. That's what they have to do.
Yeah, and offensively, like in terms of like schematics, like if you don't think your offensive line can hold up against some of these defensive linemen, then I think the scheme or whatever you're doing collectively needs to be changed or manipulated as well. I don't think that's the case though.
Neither do I.
I think there's mistakes here and there, and I think they got beat by a pretty good defensive line in the Commanders. But I think, okay, one play, the red zone goal line play,
the Scatterboo run.
Yes, when he ran into Bo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see how big Bo's split was? His split was bigger than a regular split in the open field. This is the tight red. He got like a 3-foot split. I'm sorry, you're gonna lose that.
And he got beat inside.
He got beat inside.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that little bit of detail, that's not a little, that's actually a big detail, actually. He was there's no way that he was supposed to line that far, especially when the run was hitting inside of him. He was supposed to be at least maybe 6 inches, maybe if that. He was like 3 feet. That's gonna get you beat every time. Those little details right there are the things that get you beat.
And I don't go back to, they ran a bunch of split zone runs in this game where you belly the guy back to cut the backside, and I just thought there were plays where they didn't have the double team right with the right guy getting up to the second level.
Yep, to the second level.
You would guys overlapping when they were zone blocking to the left or the right, where they would just get out of sync, and they weren't. And I think that's a feel thing. These guys haven't taken. You wouldn't think they played together last year a lot, so you think it should come together quickly. But it looked like it did. I thought the second half was better, by the way, than the first half. Maybe it just took them a half to kind of figure some of that stuff out, get into a rhythm, because I did think it wasn't always, JC, just them getting beat one-on-one, especially in the run game. It was them just not working well together as a unit and being on different levels, like all sorts of stuff. It was just very out of sync.
Yeah, and that, I think that comes with time, like what you're saying. Sometimes when guys get doubled, it's harder for the offensive guys because they don't know exactly how much force that next guy's bringing. They might actually get hit to the defensive guy might get hit to the opposite side and make them free. Like we've seen, I think it was a couple plays where I saw that happen, and then it's kind of easy to split a double team if they're not on the same level as well. So the Giants got to do better in the technical side of things in terms of the offensive line. Did they get out physical? It looks like that when the numbers are there, but it really wasn't like that. It really wasn't a lot of guys just getting their butts kicked. It happens.
It did happen once or twice.
It did happen, but it wasn't that consistently. I think it was a lot of technical things that they could improve on.
Which is surprising, by the way, because I thought technically last year with Carr and Brasilla, they were pretty sound through most of the year. So this was something a little bit different that I don't think we've seen. Yeah, exactly
and I'm going to use this excuse because it's a valid excuse. It's week one. And if you look around the league, people are making the same mistakes because it's week one. I expect improvement.
There were 17 teams this week, JC, more than half the league, that finished with under 200 team passing yards.
Right. Good quarterbacks, too.
Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield. C.J. Stroud. Tua.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of good quarterbacks on that list that were in that 17. I think Mahomes was under 200 yards last year.
It's week one, man.
It's week one. It has to be better this week, and then we can talk more after week 2 against Dallas.
100%. You look at a team like the Commanders, right? The Giants just played them. They did not play well, and they still got to win. Like you're lucky to get out of the game like that, because if the Giants would have played well, the Commanders would have played the same way they played, the Giants would have won that game. They would have been able to move the ball because the Commanders, 12 penalties. How many drops they had, right? They didn't play well, but
the overthrow, McLaurin wide open on the sideline too.
They did enough to make it, a game to where they scored points when they needed to score points. They made stops when they needed to stop. I'm not asking for the Giants to play a clean game. I just want them to be able to take advantage of some situations to get some points on that dang board. And then on defense, they got to be able to take the ball away. They have to take the ball away. Like a team that's a dominant defense, they're not just a team that's stopping the run and doing good against the pass. They're a team that takes the ball away. So if the Giants want to become that dominant defense, you have to start taking the ball away.
And do it this week, because Dak Prescott will put the ball into danger down the field.
Yes,
He's
he would.
very aggressive. He has a lot of faith in his arm. He has a lot of faith in his receivers to make contested catches. Giants had 5 interceptions last year. Only one team had fewer, the Browns. They had 4.
And how many weeks did we go from the first interception to the second interception?
Long time. Go take the ball away, 100%. All right, we got 2 more calls before we say goodbye. I love how Pearson just puts Charlie in Portland, Maine's topic on the call screener as the usual. Charlie, how are you, buddy?
Hey, John, I'm glad you dropped back in because I would have been disappointed. Hey,
I know you love talking to Paul, Charlie. You love driving him nuts. Come on.
long time no talk to. Hey, look, let me say this. Either we start fast or we're going to lose big. I can't understand why this team never, under Dable, can start fast except for the first year, and that was it.
But you mean start fast in terms of the season or in terms of games?
Games, period.
No, Charlie, you're right. This has been, Charlie, you're correct. This has been, I think, the lowest scoring team in football. Well, not all the time. In this case, you are correct. This team is, I think, the lowest scoring team in first quarters and first halves over the last 2 years. You're 100% right. They have not done well enough early in games.
I think we can't start fast. And can we put the narrative to bed that Dable is an offensive genius? He's not. Look at our scoring. He's not an offensive genius. So let's put that to bed, okay? I don't want to hear that ever again until we can actually score something, every game. And the other thing I want to say is this. I said it before, show me. And they showed me who they were. They're the same team they were last year, game 1. That's game 1. I'm just saying game 1. And they can't stop the run to save their life. And they can't run the ball to save their life either. Our offensive line is totally offensive. It is offensive. It is a bad O-line. You could put in 100 different coaches. We still end up with a bad O-line. And it doesn't matter if Thomas is there or not. Our interior O-line is pathetic. You had a team run 220 yards on us, and 150 of them were their running back. So it wasn't just Daniels. And if they didn't shoot themselves in the foot 1,000 times, it would have been 40-6. So this team hasn't shown me that they're any different than they were last year. I don't care if Carter's on the field or who's. And the thing is, they were on the field together, Carter, Burns, and Tibbs, 8% of the time in Dex. 8%. So what are we going to do next week? It's going to be 10% and 12%? You pick this guy third pick in the draft. You got to play him.
No, Charlie, hold on. No, Charlie. Hold on 1 second. I'm not going to argue with most of what you said because the week 1 was disappointing. I understand where you're coming from on that. But you're not going to have Carter, Thibodeau, and Burns on the field in non-passing situations. No. You're just not.
Why not? You can't stop the run with the other guys. Why not?
Where are you putting Carter?
You put him somewhere. You put him, let's see, McFadden's out, you put him there.
Charlie, he didn't practice one snap all offseason as an off-ball linebacker on early downs.
And you put Tibbs there.
Charlie, where'd you get the 8% from? Because I knew there wasn't a lot, but I don't have an exact number. Where did you get that from?
It was
can you find that out?
I'm telling you. I heard it.
I don't know if I have that anywhere.
8%. Dex and all those guys played together. 8% of the snap. And Carter only got 38. Look, if we cannot stop the run, which we can't, and we brought in Harris and we brought in all these guys, it doesn't matter what your pass rush is doing. It won't matter. You've got to be able to stop the run. And if Dallas can run the ball like they did against Philly, we are in trouble again. It won't matter about our pass rush. And if we cannot run the ball like we did last week, Rusty's going to be running for his life again. And that's why I called him Rusty Wilson, because he's rusty. He's not the guy. He just isn't. I'd rather see Winsome in there than him. But, look, right now we're a bad team. And I hope they show me they're not a bad team this week in Dallas. But I don't believe that will happen. I think Dak and Dallas are totally upset that they lost that game to Philly. And I think they're going to come out and they're going to start fast. They're going to start so fast, Giants' heads are going to be spinning because we never start fast. I don't get this. And that's on the coach.
I got you. Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate the call. Look, I can't defend the Week 1 performance. It was not good. I will say this. You were right about running the football on offense. JC and I talked about that earlier. The running backs averaged 2 yards a carry last week. It's got to be better than that, no question. I don't think the rush defense was necessarily as bad as the numbers indicate. Krosky Merritt, in garbage time, 21-6 in the final drive at 50 rushing yards. Throwing Daniels 68. That's almost 120 yards just on quarterback scrambles, and then that last drive by Merritt. So that brings that number down a bunch. With that said, it doesn't mean that the rush defense was good otherwise. It was still not good enough. There are way too many 5-6 yard gains on first downs, especially early in that game. I agree with that. I just don't think the rush defense was as bad as the 32 for 220 might have you believe.
Well, as a defender, I would never agree with you.
I wouldn't expect you
on
to.
this side of it, I hear you because I know exactly what you're talking about. It was a late run. It was a big. The game was kind of out of reach at that point, but at the same time, it's still rushing yards.
And I was talking to Bowen, and that 4-minute drive drove him nuts. He was not happy.
That's what
with
I'm
that.
saying.
Because he's like, I thought we were actually okay until then, and then he's like, that thing was driving me nuts all week.
Right, and on some real stuff. When I watched it, because this is the first time I ever, and I wanted to try it because I watched the game at a bar, like out, so you can't really watch the game really. So then I watched the all 22 at the same time as the TV broadcast. I've never done that. And it was good.
Where do you have the all 22 live during the broadcast?
It was no. Remember, I missed. I watched it.
So later you watched it at the same time.
So the next day when it came out.
I got you. Yeah.
Plus, I watched it at the same time. So I'm hearing what they're saying and I'm watching it. Right, so I'm watching it, and then it was a couple times where it didn't really match up. Like they were seeing different things than what I was really seeing. Right,
in terms of what the announcers were saying.
Yeah, like Tom Brady and whoever
Burkhardt. Kevin Burkhardt.
Yeah. I want to say whoever else. I know his name. I'm sorry.
So you're saying Tom Brady has no idea what he's talking about? Is basically what you're saying.
No. But it's hard to see it. The point I was trying to make is hard to see it, especially in real time on the TV.
Oh, no, it's very hard to see in real time. That's why when coaches say we have to watch the tape after the game, I get it. You do.
100%. Like there were things when I started watching it, I was like, oh, it was just a guy out of position. It was a guy a little bit too far, a guy an inch short on his alignment, and he got cut out. That's what I was seeing. I was seeing a lot of technical issues with the Giants, especially defensively. Like there were times in the second half when they started moving Deebo Samuel around. The Giants were a little bit late. And then guess where that ball hit? Right with a guy that was supposed to move. There was one time where Newbin was supposed to come over. I don't know because I don't know what happened. He was supposed to come over. It was a motion. He was supposed to come over or not. The safety came down, and he still stayed in the middle. There was no one over there. Guess where the run hit? Right over there for a big gain. So, like, things like that. Again, young safety, right? Young defensive back, new defensive backs. These are all technical issues that they can get fixed. It's not like, oh, they're not physically strong enough to stop them. That wasn't the case, at least what I saw from week one. So I think it's promising to see, like, all right, these things that happened are correctable, fixable, and they should get fixed this week.
All right, let's wrap things up with Tim in Charleston. Tim, what's going on?
Hey, guys, how you doing?
We're good.
What up, Tim?
So Jonathan, what you was saying earlier about having, Burns and Thibodeau and Carter on the field at the same time. And yeah, but it's down in distance. And John went through it the other day. You know how many times we were in long down and had them in longer down in distance. A lot of times on second down, but they kept pushing the ball. So, they kept getting either the first down or close to the first down. So, you only get so many opportunities to do that, and you have to make them pay off. And obviously, Jalen Daniels is such a mobile quarterback. That had a lot to do with it. Hopefully, we'll do a little better this week. But the one thing that has been bothering me all week, and Brian Burns, definitely best player on the field last week, and he had 2 sacks on one drive. But, John, I listened to all the huddles. I forget who it was in the offseason, said when you get a sack on defense on a drive, it reduces the offense's probability of getting a touchdown to like 11%. But what happens? What does it reduce it to if you get 2 sacks on that drive? It probably reduces it to like 4%.
It's honestly, Tim, it's probably even lower than that, to be honest with you. And the Commanders scored a touchdown on that drive. You're absolutely right.
Scored a touchdown. Yep. So as well as Burns played, we couldn't capitalize.
Well, Tim, the problem is that how many times were the Commanders in 2nd and 19 or like 2nd and 22 in this game, and then they just get 12 or 13 yards on that 2nd and long? It happened way too many times.
Yeah, or got the first down.
Or got the first down, right.
Yeah,
it's just too soft in the coverage there and the scrambles and everything. But then on the offensive side, I agree. We got to run the ball more outside. Pull a guard, pull the center, do whatever. But also, we threw so many screens in the preseason successfully, and I'm like, little quick dinks and dunks, and I was like, with Scattaboo, with Tracy, with the wide receivers, with anyone. I mean, even with Theo in the one play that Jackson Darton gave, a little 4-yard shot that went for 30. We've got to get some more of these little quick outs and get the Dallas defenders playing toward the edges and stop that massive push up the middle. Establish the run, but in order to do that, let's get some of those. Let's stretch out the Dallas defense a little more, because one thing I agree with Charlie: if we don't start fast in this game, it's not going to go well. And I hate to say I agree with Charlie, but I think he's spot on.
Look, Tim, I happen to agree with him too. I do think can you please be the team to score first in this game? Like, if you win the coin toss, I would seriously consider taking the ball.
Yeah, no, for real.
Yeah,
the Giants need to start fast.
One other thing that I just had. This was a thought I had literally during the game when it happened. So it's not Monday morning quarterbacking. The one time in the game when I said, "Here's a spot they should throw in Jackson Dart," and this is more of even a thought for down the line. On that first time, before we got the penalty on, when we can't play on the 4th and goal down there, and it was at the 2-yard line, and we got lucky, we got the penalty, we got a new set of downs and did nothing with it. But I was thinking this would be a great time to have Dart, when you get in like a 4th and 2 kind of situation, to put him in the game, because it just gives you more options. It gives more things for the defense to talk about.
Does it?
So that they've got to be more aware, and you could do a play action. You could roll them out with a little option play.
You can do that with Russ, though, Tim.
That might be a way to get him in now and then to great effect without disrupting the whole flow of taking whole series away from Russ. What do you think about that?
No, thank you, Tim. Appreciate the call. I think you can do that stuff with Russ. You could play action and roll out Russell Wilson.
Yeah, they tried it.
And by the way, I thought they did try a couple of those really short passes in the first half. Do you know what happened? The Commander defensive ends got so far afield, JC, that they cut the angle off on the passes to the perimeter.
I'm telling you, the Commanders' defensive line played lights out.
No, they played very well.
They really did. Like, the screen plays, a couple of the screenplays on the outside, they were the ones making the tackle, not the defensive backs.
Oh, dude, even like on the goal line play, on one of them, I think it was the third and goal. When they play action and they were trying to get Tracy coming out late towards the sideline, Wise got out there and he cut off the angle. Russell Wilson couldn't make the throw. So, to your point, I'm with you. I think there were a lot of technical issues that could be corrected. Give me your final thoughts saying into the game.
Well, just what he was talking about, because he was talking about putting Jackson Dart in. I'm interested because there was supposed to be a package for Jackson Dart.
I wonder how accurate that was, but yes.
Oh, okay.
It was reported. I wonder if that was just trying to get the Commanders to prepare for something.
Okay, man, maybe.
But maybe not.
Well, I'm interested though.
Because I feel like if there was, the way the offense played, why wouldn't we have seen it?
Right.
It seems a little odd that we didn't see it in the game where the offense couldn't get anything going if it was there. You know what I mean?
No, I got you. I'm interested.
I could be wrong, though. I'm
interested to see it.
That's just a guess.
And like I said, the great thing about this is that it was only week 1, right? And there was some things that the Giants can correct on film. Sometimes you look at the film and be like, we can't do nothing with that. Correct. You know what I mean? Like, correct. I looked at the film and said, all right, there's some mistakes that were here that I can see. If they correct these, those big plays wouldn't happen. And on both sides of the ball. That's it. That's my last pick.
Anything on Dallas you want to say before we go?
To set it up, I think you stepped out for a second. Yeah, you stepped out for a second. My keys to victory basically is like offensively, of course, establish the offensive line, be able to establish the run, take shots early, keep them on their heels. Defensively, be gap assigned. Be a gap. Have gap integrity, and then get into a manageable situation where your defensive line can eat.
Awesome. JC.
All right, man.
It's good being back with you, man. It's been too long.
It's been so long.
I am pumped to be with JC every Thursday this year on Big Blue Kickoff Live. I apologize for popping in and out. Luckily, my windshield is repaired, or at least it's supposed to be. You could barely see the crack. It was nice. It's like almost a dime or nickel-sized nick, too. It was a bad one.
That's not bad, because it could get worse.
It could
You
get
leave
worse.
those,
So now,
because the whole thing.
in theory, it should be fixed. So I appreciate that. Thanks for being with us here in the Hackensack Brittany Health Podcast Studio. Keep getting better for Big Blue Kickoff Live presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk. You can, of course, check out all of our other programming, the Giants Huddle Podcast. Dave Hellman, is that up yet, Pearson, or not yet? That'll be up this afternoon. Giants Hangout is up from yesterday. Go check that out on the Giants Podcast, Giants Huddle Podcast feed. Draft season is up this week. So you can find all that on the Giants website, Giants.com/podcast, the Giants app, Giants YouTube channel, or on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for Giants Podcast Network. For Jonathan Casillas, I am John Schmeelk. Tomorrow is Dottino and Sidetack. One more show getting you ready for Giants and Cowboys in Big D. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12:30.